Good morning and welcome to How to Become a Consultant. It's a way of diversifying your income. I'm Dante St James. The live session this morning, if you're watching on Zoom, just pop your questions in the Q&A, pop it into the chat, or you can contribute to part of the conversation as we're going along. If you're watching us afterwards on YouTube, just pop your stuff in the comments below and you'll be able to get an answer from myself or the team from Business Station as to what any sort of clarification you need from the video. We'll hopefully have this up a little bit later today. It's being recorded on Wednesday, the 20th of January. Let's share the screen and get it started. So as we come into the consultant world, we're talking about the way of expanding your income opportunities beyond just simply being someone who does a job. So if you're doing a job, or even if you have a business already, it's expanding it out of doing the things you do to being able to consult to others on the things that you do. The greatest skill that a consultant can have is the ability to ask the right questions. And this has certainly been right for my role as a consultant in the few areas that I actually consult in, mainly in digital abilities and skills and business growth and attracting investment from outside sources is where I tend to get the most consulting work done. And also through the ASBAS Digital Solutions Program and the NICE program that I'm part of. A bit more about that to come though. This is part of Business Station and the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program, delivered in Queensland by Regional Development Australia, Brisbane, and in the Northern Territory by Treaty Business Consulting, and in WA by Business Station themselves, of course. You can watch this later on YouTube through my own channel, Dante St James, or through the Business Station channel. Just look for Business Station on YouTube and you'll find it there. What we're going to cover is what a consultant is, identifying what your particular niche is that you may be able to consult into, the problem that you as a consultant are out there to solve, why someone should choose you as their consultant above others. We're looking at your online presence as a consultant, as well as lead generation and sales. And there's a process there of continuous improvement, which is definitely part of the skill set of any consultant. And then we'll look at personal brand, which is very, very important if you're going out specifically as you. And then finally, we'll look at the business models you may want to follow as a consultant. The background on myself is I've got my education from the University of Western Sydney, University of New South Wales, Chartered Institute of Marketing and TAFE. I've done quite a lot of TAFE stuff in the last 10 years. Also work with Facebook as a lead trainer, digital marketing associate and planning and buying professional. And then through Google's Digital Springboard project and a few government programs I was mentioning very briefly before, the New Enterprise Incentive Scheme through the Australian government, as well as the ASBAS Digital Solutions, and Be Connected. I'm a consultant, and this is who I consult to at the moment. I'm a consultant to Facebook to provide them training services for their business customers. I'm a consultant to Treaty Business Consulting, providing digital input and training services for them as well. I'm a consultant on the Business Innovation Program and Business Growth Program for the Northern Territory Government. I consult to Iscariot Media, who have a lot of footprint in Southeast Queensland and Sydney. Consult to Google through their Digital Springboard Program, and you can go down that list and see all the different things I'm consulting for. In a private business sense, I consult for Tourism NT, providing them workshops, Lean Startup Labs by providing an Australian input to the startup environment, consulting also to Hira and to Mobi as well, which are different elements, the different companies that I've been consulting to as a marketing consultant. So these are some of the names I consult for. Doesn't make me any better than anyone else. It's just letting you know that I'm on this journey too, and it is a possible thing to do where you can step out of a business that you're running, stepping out of a job that you're doing, and actually start the process of consulting. And there is very much a process to this. A consultant essentially is a person who's an expert in something very specific, who gives professional advice to people and businesses in that area of what they're very specifically an expert at. So if you're an expert at anything, you've got the ability to be able to become a consultant in that, using your expertise as the content of what you're consulting on. So there are a few different types of consultants. There's a business consultant that can consult on things like the things that happen in their business. Things like, let's say, for instance, business growth or the process of starting a business. There's consultants that specialize in that. If you've ever started a business, you're kind of an expert in starting up businesses, funnily enough. That could be something you can consult for. If you're a whiz with Xero, MYOB, or QuickBooks, then a finance consultant could be something you could do. You don't have to necessarily be an accountant to be a consultant in these areas. We have quite a few accounting consultants, both who are accountants, bookkeepers, and otherwise, who are able to consult on the use of systems like Xero, like QuickBooks, like MYOB, like Reckon, any of those different kind of tools that they can then consult to other people. The idea of being consultant is you're a little bit ahead of where your student is, and you're able to bring them the information in a one-to-one scenario to help them to get better at that particular tool. A wellness consultant can be anybody who, for selling powders, potions, and pills, to actually conducting yoga classes, actually conducting NLP sessions, counseling, that kind of thing. That's essentially a consultant, is where you're taking something that you are an expert in. So if that is exercise physiology and you've got a qualification in that, you can consult that. You don't actually just have to be an exercise physiologist. You can consult other people about exercise physiology. The same thing when it comes to anything you're doing with fitness and nutrition. If you're an expert in vegan cooking, you can consult to restaurants who are looking to increase their vegan input in their dishes and are not sure how to go about it. That's how broad the idea of consultant is. It is the 21st century's biggest growth sector, because almost anyone can be an expert in anything and then consult to others who are willing to pay to get hold of that expertise. You got to be a sales consultant. You're someone who goes in and sells things for other people. So you've got, you don't work for them. You just go, I'm going to be consultant for the sales of those products. And they might go, can you sell that stuff for it? And you become a sales consultant for a different business. I do sales for 3 different businesses at the moment. And that's because I've got an expertise in that particular area, and I'm able to weave that into my daily life. You might be a technology consultant. Quite a few of our ASBAS Digital Solutions people are. And a technology solution, a technology consultant in something like Office 365, or it could be Xero, it could be using a Mac, or it could be something like using your computer to automate everyday tasks. You can be a legal consultant as well, although in that case, you're generally a lawyer who gets consulted, but you could be someone who's consultant in what kind of lawyer to use for a specific kind of case, or a broker of sorts. So what kind of qualifications and credentials do you need to be a consultant? Essentially, certification helps. You don't absolutely have to do it. A university degree is certainly the top of the pile. That's certainly something which you want to kind of aim towards. But at least certifications in what you do. If someone was trying to consult to me about Xero, I'd want to know that they have a certification in Xero of some sort. If someone's going to consult with me about my Facebook ads, I would want to know that they've actually got some kind of certification from Facebook as a media buyer or a media planner to be able to give that kind of advice. Given the fact that almost nobody in Australia who consults on Facebook ads has those qualifications, it certainly troubles me to a great degree that people are going about and selling their services without anything to back it. A proven track record is going to speak volumes for you as a consultant. Now, having a proven track record is hard if you're just starting business and going out as a consultant for the first time. But then again, it's also not, because you would have had jobs before now. And in those jobs, you would have had some kind of record, some kind of track record of when people you've done jobs for people. So if you were employed by, let's just say, a pharmacy, and you were very, very, very good at working out what vitamins people should take for certain ailments as remedies, then you can say that I've got a track record of working in a pharmacy where I gave advice on the use of supplements and vitamins on a daily basis. That helps you become a bit more of an expert. Being members of peak bodies in your industry or some kind of membership organization, chambers of commerce, those kind of things, they help you to show that you're not some lone wolf out there on your own saying weird stuff that people can't actually get on board with. If you're too out there, you're not going to be accepted on these particular bodies for long. So to be part of something bigger, to be a member of something bigger, shows some credibility and shows that you're able to be trustworthy and stable enough to be part of these groups as well. So let's break down a bit of this. So certifications can include your university degrees, obviously the king of the heap if you've got one or two or three. I've got a few. Your TAFE and other diplomas are just as good in these industries when they're coupled with time in the industry. So don't feel like you can't consult because you don't have a bachelor of this or a master of that. You're actually in a great position to be able to consult just with certifications and TAFE diplomas or any sort of Cert 3, Cert 4, that sort of stuff. Even what I call micro credentials, which is certifications in specific skill sets. Like for instance, I've got those Facebook ones that I showed you before as a media buyer, media planner, creative strategist, and gosh, I'm forgetting what they all are, digital marketing associate. And there's one more that I'm forgetting and I've just completely lost it out of my brain, but you could be zero. You might have gold, silver, or bronze membership, bronze partnership with them. It shows that you've got a credential that says, I can speak with authority to this particular topic. Your track record might actually come in the form of case studies. So you're able to speak of specific work that you've done, not necessarily having to identify who the client was or what the actual exact details were, but you can say, here's my process for working through it when I've worked through it before. Showing that you have a method is a part of knowing that people can trust you. If they go, I do this and I've got this method to do this, they go, oh, okay, I can imagine now how we'll be able to now work together to do this. Having testimonials is great, getting previous clients or even previous employers who can back what you're saying. That says a lot, especially previous employers, because that's saying that somebody thought enough of your expertise in that area to actually give you a job. That's also a very powerful one. So don't feel like you are in some sort of disadvantage if you've not done any consulting work before. Your employment history is a very obvious place to start. Part of my employment history is that I worked 13.5 years for a broadcasting company in a bunch of roles, including broadcasting, promotions, marketing, copywriting, web development, social media management. All those areas all count up to say, I can speak with some degree of authority to all the things I did in those roles because I did them for so darn long. It's the obvious place to start because it's often where you've spent the most of your life, unless you've just, always had a business. Your memberships can be things like chambers of commerce or similar organizations that they show that you're making a commitment to a specific area. The Chamber of Commerce Northern Territory is a territory-wide organization and very well respected across the territory. You may be a member of the Chamber of Commerce in Geraldton, and that might be, or Upper Swan, or it could be in the Gold Coast or Logan Chamber of Commerce in Queensland. Wherever your chamber is going to be, being a member of that chamber, whilst it can be a little bit expensive in some places, and some places they've got much cheaper entry points for you, shows that you've got a commitment to the local area. And it also shows a lot of people that you are actually going to comply with certain standards and ethical practices. Often they've got a statement of ethics that all members should then adhere to. So if you are part of that, there's an assumption that you have to earn your way in there, not just pay your way in there. Industry peak bodies are very much about that whole thing of maintaining a standard or an ethical approach. And they can speak quite loudly in areas such as the real estate institutes, REIWA, REIQ, REINT, speak very well if you're speaking into something like real estate. The Australian Computer Society, if you're working in ITC or IT and communications, because it shows that you have to actually qualify to get in there. And then there's a certain amount of expectations as a certified member that you've got to keep up that tell people, oh yeah, that one, she's very serious about this. I can trust her because she's got to adhere to those particular standards. The same like with the Law Society or any of those groups, the Australian, I wouldn't say Australian Institute of Fitness because they just sell diplomas, but it's anywhere where you have to not just pay to get in, but you also have to perform to stay in. Having things like police checks is surprisingly important. Now, especially when you're working with kids. If you plan to work anywhere near children, it is expected and absolutely mandatory that you have some kind of working with children check, and whatever that happens to be in your state or territory. So for instance, here's my one that says that I'm actually certified to work with children by the Northern Territory government because I have no criminal background and I've been given a vetting and they say I'm okay to be around kids. And that's a good thing. My National Police Certificate, which I just had renewed very, very recently, looks like this. So if you can get one of these guys, that's showing you don't have a criminal history in your last in the last period of time. I think it's like to say that there's no record of any kind of convictions or anything like that that's anywhere in Australia. So that gives a lot of confidence to someone that if you're okay with kids and you're okay with police, then you're going to be okay to deal with. Surprising again, so many people don't bother to get these things. And I look at this and go, these are just a no-brainer to have these in your toolkit as something that shows that you're someone worth trusting. By showing those things, you're saying, I've got nothing to hide, which is the way you want to live. So before you start though, consulting is still a business. It's not just contracting. It is a business of its own. There is risk involved in going out all on your own. The cash flow is not always going to be consistent. For me, the consulting work I do dries up in May and reignites in July. There's a reason for that, because I'm an expense to a business and to a company. So they have to get approval for the next financial year to be able to do that. And quite often they will just not give me as much work leading to the end of the financial year to tie everything up in a nice bow. And then they re-engage me again in July. So I always know that May and June are going to be fairly quiet months. For you, it could be December and January. Now, for me, December is always a big month. January this year has been huge. One of my most huge months I've ever had in all the years of business I've done, because I've now got a bunch of clients that I've educated into doing things in January because it's a quiet time for them. So they can do the learning they need to do. They can do the planning they need to do. And we can get a lot of great work done before they get too busy and things get out of control. I will say though, that the biggest one that was a wake-up call for me is that when things go wrong, there's no one there to bail you out. You can't just go to your boss and say, hey boss, I stuffed up. You are the one who stuffed up. So you carry all the risk that goes with that as a consultant, which means then you have to look at making sure you're covered legally for everything you need to do, and in insurance terms as well. So you need an ABN, just like you do with any business. You need to register a business name. Now, you don't actually have to register a business name. You just have to have an ABN. It helps for you to have a business name because it shows that you're a business, not just a contractor, for instance. So if you created a business that's got a business name that's able to be searched, you can then do all sorts of different things with the structures. Say, for instance, moving from a sole trader to a company, or a company to a family trust. Any of those different business structures that each have their own individual requirements and their own individual advantages and disadvantages. So register that business name nice and early into your journey, so that then you've got a business name that you can actually present as representative of you. Having other registrations, such as showing that you're registered with the council to have a food truck, if that's what you do, making sure that your kitchen has been food safety checked and made sure that you've got the training that goes along with that. If you're working with alcohol, making sure that you've got responsible service of alcohol certification for everybody there who's working there in that. And it might also be helpful too, if you're working with staff or with contractors, to make sure they've got their police checks done. And if you're working around children, or anything with serving food that somehow they're going to come into contact with kids, make them get those working with children checks. It will help you immensely if people can trust you. Now, before you start, you also need insurances, and that includes public liability insurance. In many programs, you cannot even begin until you've got your public liability insurance. In fact, I can't do presentations in conference centers and in hotels without first producing my public liability insurance to make sure that if anything happens in that hotel in my watch, they can then put it back on me, and I've got insurance to back me for all that. Professional indemnity insurance is a very powerful one too, because it means that if you advise someone as a consultant to do something, they do it and it fails and it costs them $1 million, they can sue you. And that's not really fun if you don't have a lot of money to be suable. If you don't have $1 million in the bank account to be able to pay them back, your professional indemnity insurance is going to be what's going to help that out. This doesn't always come up when you're starting a business. Mostly it's the public liability that everyone says you simply must have, but professional indemnity is one you definitely should go for. In a lot of areas, such as in the arts, in exercise, in clubs, like managing like soccer clubs and ballet dance studios, even in the IT community, you can join certain peak bodies. So in my case, the ACS, or Australian Computer Society, I've joined that because it gives me both public liability insurance and professional indemnity insurance in one. So I don't have to pay that above my membership. So my membership actually covers that. My membership of the Australian Marketing Institute, which is a really good one if you're working in some sort of digital marketing or social media management, any of those, also has professional indemnity insurance included with it as well. So that sort of stuff really helps you to cut some costs. So you're not constantly having to pay for additional insurances as a consultant when you're just paying a membership that then covers that. And that also makes that insurance way, way cheaper than if you're going out and buying that commercially. Your other insurances could be workers' compensation insurance if you're working as a consultant and then having other people working with you, or requiring that at least your co-contractors as a consultant then have that stuff as well. Having the right insurances, cybersecurity insurance can be massively important if you are a consultant who has access to your clients' systems. Knowing that you have cybersecurity insurance and you're in those systems doing that means that if anything happens on your watch through your login and you get sued by that particular client, you've got insurance that's going to cover that. Your professional indemnity probably won't cover cybersecurity incidents, but a specific cybersecurity insurance, that definitely will. That one's a no-brainer for me. I have to get that one because I work in way too many big systems that clients have, and they allow me access to them. I need to prove that I'm going to be backed if something goes wrong through my login. But the fun part is not the insurances and all the startup stuff and getting police checks and all that. The fun part is working out what you're going to consult in. What is the niche that you're going to be working in? Your niche is going to be something like where you've got a unique point of view. So for instance, if you are a naturopath who works specifically with plant-based ingredients only, then you may have a unique point of view saying that you're a vegan naturopath and you're someone who consults with other naturopaths on how to make their practices plant-centric. If you have authority in the field, so for instance, you've been speaking for a number of years on a topic, working in a number of years on a topic, had a business, sold a business on a topic where you've actually got demonstrated expertise and some credibility and authority in something, that is going to help you form what your niche is. And it's also forming your niche is saying, is there an actual paid demand for what I actually do? Do people want to pay to access my expertise? That will also play into part of what you're going to do to get your niche. When I break down what are you the best at, what is something that you're just known to be the best in town at, you don't need to be great at everything. You need to be the best at something, but you don't need to be the best at everything. What you really need to do is solve a very specific problem for a very specific kind of client. This could be something like that you are the person who is able to design business cards for people who are working from home. It's a very, very tiny niche, but there are a lot of people who work from home who need business cards. So that might be your niche. And that's the thing that you consult to, is to tell people how to create their business cards. Your consultation could be that you're somebody who is known from your period of time working in restaurants, that you know how to make restaurants work more efficiently and to make the front of house services operate flawlessly. I went to a place called Yatala Pies when I was visiting Southeast Queensland not too long ago. And I was amazed with hundreds of people going through there every hour, just how efficient and how beautiful that is. And I actually asked one of the managers there and I said, how did you get this system of getting people in and through and out? So real, like it's like McDonald's in their efficiency of getting people through drive-through. It is something to be absolutely admired. And they told me they actually had an efficiency expert come in and teach them how to find the efficiencies and the best way to flow people in and out. They got a consultant in whose job is to get massive lots of people into restaurants and out of them again. Amazing. Who is that person? Who is that person that sold that skill? That could be you if that's your background. And you can then find a gap in your industry that fits what you're specifically good at. If there's enough of those fast food environments that are not tied to a major chain that need to get somebody who's an efficiency and traffic flow expert, then that could be the gap in the industry that you're fulfilling. And that could be a very, very lucrative gap that you could be fulfilling as well. Examples of some of those niches, let's have a look at some of those. An accountant who is great at business growth becomes a consultant who helps other accountants to grow their accountancy businesses. Makes sense, doesn't it? If you're really good at business growth and you've grown your own accountancy business out quite a lot to the point that the whole thing's largely automated, well, you are the natural person to train others as a consultant in how to grow their businesses to do the same. You might be a plumber or a former plumber who is good with digital systems like ServiceMate. So you become a consultant who helps other plumbers and carpenters and boilermakers on how to manage their bookings better using systems like ServiceMate. I'm actually working in a mentorship at the moment, mentoring a guy who is starting a business that is all around exactly that thing. He's an ex-carpenter. He's very, very good at the system called ServiceMate. So he's setting himself up as a consultant for other tradies to be able to use better systems to make their workflow more efficient. A farrier, who's someone who works with horses, is great with horse nutrition. So they understand nutrition, which is not at the corner of what they do with their work with horses. So they become a consultant in horse nutrition and supplements. They'll consult other people. And I know a lady who's doing this very thing right now. She's great with horses. She's become very, very, very knowledgeable in nutritional supplements for horses and for their health. And she's now able to consult other people all around the world out of her little home studio in Darwin on how to be a consultant in horse nutrition and supplements. And she's got online courses going at the moment. She's just really, really taken this on and become such a great consultant in exactly what he does. If you've helped open up bars and restaurants in the past, so if you've set up a bar from scratch, you could very much be a consultant to other people who are looking to start up bars or other people who are looking to start up a food truck. If you've been able to do that before, think about it, a delivery service for restaurants that normally don't deliver. You could actually get a consultant in who can show you step by step of all those things you need to do. The advantage of that is, as a consultant, is that you bring them a saving in time. They don't have to figure all this stuff out for themselves and make mistakes. They just go straight to the person who knows how this is done. And you don't just become someone who opened a bar or opened a delivery service or opened a restaurant or a hair salon. You become a person who's an expert in helping other people to do those things. But you don't have to be great at everything. In fact, specialists are actually paid better than generalists when it comes to this. If you're a specialist who specializes in opening up beauty salons that deal with IPL hair removal treatments, that's a special niche that people will pay for very specifically because you know how to do that very business model. You understand it, everything about it, the ins and outs, but you know what that is. Or you could be someone who's set up a successful drop shipping business, getting stuff out of China and into people's lounge rooms in Australia, New Zealand, America, Europe, anywhere in the world. Once you've actually got your business model working for you, you can become a consultant that teaches other people how to set up their own drop shipping businesses. So you can do that either through online courses, and we've got a bit more about the structures of these businesses later, or you can do that as a one-to-one thing. You help people in your actual town. The difference between a specialist and a generalist is definitely that specialists really love what it is they do. Generalists may love the industry and they love the job of it, but generalists are a lot more big picture. Your specialists love that niche that they're in, and they get really deep into it and have a very deep and very, very penetrating knowledge of that particular field and that service. They love what they do, and it shows. I love doing what I do with doing these, and it probably shows as well. I'm always quite enthusiastic about it. A generalist isn't actually an expert at anything in particular. They might be an expert in an industry or at a process, but they're not necessarily a deep and penetrating expert on a particular level. So you don't have to be good at everything. You can be good at a whole area. You might be a generalist who knows exactly how to start up a new business in a place like Alice Springs. So if that's the case, then great. You can help people to open up businesses in Alice Springs, because someone needs very specialized knowledge on how to set up a food service business, hiring local Indigenous staff members to attract grant money, then that's a very specific skill that you may not necessarily be able to help out with. So you've got to be looking to solve a very specific problem with a very specific client. So you might position yourself as, rather than being a digital marketer, you say that you're a social media lead generator. And the whole idea is that whilst you do a lot of everything in digital marketing, where you're really good at is lead generation through automated processes on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. That's a very specific skill and something that people are actually looking for. Become a consultant in that, if that really floats your boat. You can be, rather than just a life coach, you become a wealth mindset specialist. So you're actually teaching people, consulting with them very specifically in a workshop or in a one-to-one to become someone who has a wealth mindset. Very, very specific, as opposed to a life coach, which could be an organizational person. That could be a person who think nice thoughts about yourself. It could be an organizational person. But that specific wealth mindset specialist has already found what her particular niche is, and she's just doubled down on that because that's what she found that people are looking to her to go and look at. Rather than being an administration assistant, it's supposed to say admin assistant, not admin assistant, become a time management consultant. Whilst you might be able to consult to a business or to an individual or a sole trader on how to handle all their administrative tasks, you could also just become someone who helps them manage their time. If you're working with a tradie who needs someone to help them to go, how do I get all this work done and still have a life and be able to go fishing with my mates on a Sunday? Well, this is how you do it. As a time management consultant, I can show you what the steps are to ensure that you get the most out of your time, and also help you with a little bit of a problem up the top of your funnel, which is you're getting too many people coming in too often because you're charging too little and you have to get too many customers to be able to pay that off. A business consultant or a time management consultant or a business efficiency consultant or a business profitability consultant, there's so many niches you can go into, can help do all those different things. So in amongst all these, you're probably going, I could probably do that. I warn you though, don't just take someone else's idea of what you should be an expert or a consultant in. Think about the thing that you really love doing. And we'll look at that very shortly too, in how to choose what it is you're going to niche down on. And finally, you've got to make sure that someone actually is demanding what it is you're going to be a niche consultant with. So if you're going to be a search engine optimization expert for e-commerce, understand that not everybody is going to be on that, because it's a very, very expensive thing to do. It's a very rare that somebody who comes and opens up a brand new shop is going to get good search results on Google on their first week of operation. It just doesn't work that way. To be an SEO expert in e-commerce means you have to have a very specific background in how to do that. You might be someone who knows how to outsource work to offshore call centers. Now, that is something I needed to do about 2 years ago. I didn't know how to do that. I found someone who was a friend who was a consultant in this, and I ended up using him to manage the process for me, because it was just easier to use a consultant than for me to go and work it all out for myself. I trusted him. He did really well for me, and I will use him again and again, and probably recommend if you ever need that kind of thing. You also need to be someone who, if a particular niche is how to organize backpackers on tours. So that could be something where you go, well, a tour operator, it could be something like that. I've done a lot of tours of backpackers, taking them out to the outback or taking them to the rainforest. I could probably consult that. And if there's people who are looking for help with that, you can market yourself as a specialist in organizing backpacker tours, not being the tour operator, not being the tour guide, but in helping the existing operators and the existing guides to be able to handle groups of backpackers, and knowing what the unique settings you need to have for them, what the unique abilities you need, what the unique experiences you need to provide in order to do that for that. So yes, we definitely, Jackie, sorry you dropped out there. That's okay. We will be definitely putting this on YouTube. So hopefully you can watch that later on. Now we need to work out what it is that's going to help someone choose you. What is called your value proposition. This is why someone will choose you as the expert in this over another expert in this. And there's many reasons for that. One of those could be that you need to answer the question of, can you help? So if someone is saying, I need help with someone to set up my digital systems for my food truck business, because I don't know how to do all that. I don't even know where to start. Who can help? And you go, oh, I can help because I've done this 15 times before, and I do it actually a couple of times a week with people. Great. You need to define the problem that you're solving. So answering that question of, can this problem be solved? The problem is setting up digital systems and processes in a food truck. Can it be solved? Absolutely, yes, it can, and I can do that. So yes, I can help. The problem can be solved. And then you have that third question is about the method you're going to use. So that's answering the question of how can it be solved? So you're saying, yes, I can help. Yes, it can be solved. And this is the method I'm going to use to solve it. Now, it doesn't mean telling them step by step how you're going to do it, because they might as well just do it themselves. But if you want to do that with them and sell them the concept of how to help, you can sell that time as well. Although the better way to do it is to sell your expertise to them, working side by side with them. And like I said, a little bit later on, we're going to have the business structures that may work best for you as a consultant, rather than just saying, oh, you need to sit down with everybody, because you're going to run out of time real quick if you do that. Your value proposition is going to be in the format of, I help this particular niche to get this particular result by doing this particular thing in this method, right? So to be, for instance, let's go back to the IPL clinic for hair removal salons. I help IPL clinics to install their equipment and attract new customers by putting in place a 4-step process that any IPL clinic owner can carry out to grow their business. Another example would be, I help people who want to open up small bars and small restaurants to get a successful fit out and menu planning by giving them a 10-step process that I've been able to do before, that makes it easy to get from the idea of your bar or restaurant to opening up a restaurant and bar of your own. Another example would be someone, actually feel free to throw it into your chat too, if there's what someone's looking to do their particular consultation on. So I'll give you a second just to write that in. I'll use a few examples just off the top of my head for people who are actually in the chat right now. So yeah, tell me what you would like to consult on, what you think you might be able to consult on even, and I'll give you a result that matches that. So my one, for instance, could be that I help very confused and very time poor small business owners to understand how to grow their business through digital tools by giving them a 3x3 process to know how to market their business. And then I go, what's a 3x3 process? It sounds very fancy. It's not really that fancy. It's very obvious, but it's something which is my thing. And that's my special thing. That's my point of difference, is that I've got a very, very simple methodology that I teach to businesses that enables them to be able to handle their marketing and promotion stuff, not doing that to you. Dom is telling us that he helps small bars to get a liquor license. That's fantastic. That is a perfect example of someone who's actually going to do this. I help small bars get a liquor license. I help small bar owners to get their first liquor license by following this particular process. Or it could be that you actually do the work, or you teach someone else to do that work. Extreme VR works in the VR entertainment industry and feels they have enough knowledge to take on a consultancy role. Fantastic. So I help people who are looking to build VR experiences into their entertainment businesses, to entertain more people with a new technology by following my 10-step process that allows people to go from doing, for having standard 2D experiences to 3D and VR experiences. Jeanette set up herself as a business development specialist, sales coach, and outbound calling. Fantastic. So I help businesses to, let's just say business development specialist, sales coach, and outbound call. So I help businesses who have trouble doing sales to be much more effective at doing their own sales and doing outbound calls in an efficient way by a 3-step process of training them on how to be more confident on the phone and to be able to have scripts that make them able to secure a sale. Jody could be running in a manufacturing business, now looking to help others with systems. So Jody could say, I help manufacturing businesses who have struggles with their systems and processes to be more efficient and more effective manufacturing businesses by following a defined process that I've developed over the last 30 years. That's your value proposition. They are fantastic examples. Best attendees in a webinar ever, you guys. You've given me stuff that's really, really good to work with. And they're the kind of results you can get, is that I help this particular niche of business to get this particular result they want to get by following a particular method that I do. It can be your method. It could be someone else's method. You may have many value propositions. One of mine is that I help small businesses who are confused about how to begin their marketing to understand what their brand position is and what their messaging is by following the brand story, brand scripting process by Donald Miller. Now, that might mean nothing to anybody, but to those who have come across it, they go, oh my God, a Donald Miller brand specialist, let me get you on board. Now we look at doing the fun stuff, which is building your online presence. And this is where you're going to promote who it is you are and what you do. Building out your online presence is about putting social media in place, because that's your property. You don't need to spend thousands on websites. You can use free website builders and cheap website builders. Google Sites will build a website for you. Wix, WordPress.com is really not an expensive thing to do. Squarespace is another one that you can actually build a very basic website. Now, a lot of us go out to start our business and we think, oh, to start my business, I need to build a big website. I need to spend $5,000 to do it. To start a consulting business, you do not need a fancy website. You just need a website that works to explain who you are and what you do. It doesn't need to have booking widgets. It doesn't need to have calendars. It doesn't need to have, movies explaining everything you do. When you're first starting out, your website and all that sort of stuff, that's at the end of the process. What you need to do is get going first, become a consultant first, work with the contacts you have first, then you start building all this out. Unfortunately, web designers and a lot of social media experts would want to tell you, oh no, do all your social media and build your authority first and then go out. I'm assuming that you already know what you're doing. I'm assuming you've already got a background that you can show what you're doing. So if you're able to promote that to the networks you already have, you're going to find work. You don't even need a logo. I don't have a personal logo. I've got a business logo, but at the same time, it took me 15 minutes to build in Photoshop. I just found bits and pieces, stuck them together and went, that's cool. I like that. And people like my logo. They say it really speaks to what it is I do. But you don't even need to have one. You just need a name. That's all you need, just your name. Quite often that you are the consultant, you are the business, and you don't necessarily need all that sort of stuff. So it's all very much that you shouldn't need to necessarily put all these things together for up front, when really all you need to do is just get started. Now, these things can come later though, and they're all very important, good things. You then need to build a repeatable lead generation system, something that's going to bring people into your business. So to make sure that people can actually engage with your business, know what it is you do, and do it on a regular basis. You don't want ultimately your cash flow to be coming in great big lots and then nothing for 6 months. You don't want to have a wet season and a dry season when it comes to business. You want to have fairly consistent cash flow coming in all the time. Otherwise, you need to then really sort of look at how you're going to budget yourself over those dry months. So an example of a repeatable lead generation system that you may lead, and this is a very common one, is you can have Facebook ads that are running that click through to a landing page. That landing page displays a video on it that it's you or someone else explaining what the value is of what you do. What is the niche you serve and how you can add some value to that. At the end of that, they're invited to book a free consultation with you. You can give them a free bit of time. It's a half an hour, a discovery call, we can call that, where you find out what it is they're after and they find out a little bit about you as well. In that discovery call or in that free consultation, you explore the ideas about how you helped other people, how they can be helped by you. You have a chance to explain what your credibility is, what your authority is, how you're able to attack their situation with the same kind of success you've had with other situations in the past. You're able to then go and back that up later with a follow-up. So once you get off that, they might go, oh mate, you're the guy I want. Let's sign up right away. If it's that easy, great. Jump on that and go in it. Most of the time it won't be. Most of the time they'll get off that call and you might have to leave them alone for a week and then come back and say, hey, I'm just thinking about that call we had. Would you like to go ahead and do something more with that? And they go, actually, yeah, you know what? I've just been busy this week. Can we catch up and do a coffee and bring me the thing that you think you'd like to do? So that is a very common repeatable lead generation system for consultants in some respect. Most of the online consultants and coaches will use a very similar model to this with a few extra touch points in here and go. They might have, autoresponders and email marketing, sales funnels that operate on 17 steps. You don't actually need any of that stuff to begin with. Your landing page can be built in something, yes, like ClickFunnels, which does allow you to do that. And you can have a very complex way of doing it. The way I look at it is, unless you're dealing with, dozens of inquiries every week, you don't need to automate anything. If you're dealing with one inquiry a day, just do that one inquiry and do it this way. Remember, the Facebook ads leading through a landing page with a value video and a booking system like Calendly or Timely or something like that. That's all automated. Those first 4 steps on here are all automated. It's only the last 2 steps that you have to do yourself. Someone who tries to then automate all of that is not a consultant. They're a course seller. And that's a very different kind of business model. But of course, with all that and selling it all and getting people in there, you still need to deliver the goods, and you need to improve what you do over time. All the services you deliver, to deliver them over and over again, and making sure everyone's happy. And you do that by making sure that you can deliver what it is you're promising to deliver. You will not last long if you keep failing to deliver for your clients. If you don't deliver the goods, they're going to let other people know, and you're going to get a bad reputation in the industry. Having strong communication skills and a strong communications habits will help keep you afloat. A failure to communicate is a failure to keep that client. If you stop communicating with them, they will go somewhere else. They'll lose track of you. You'll lose track of them. Things won't be understood. Things will be misread, and you're just going to end up in a great big fight. And it's not a happy place to be. I've done it myself when I just had terrible communication skills, and I had this whole idea. I was very good at selling the idea. I was very good at selling the dream. I was not very good at following it up. So I've now geared my consultancy around it. I can bring people in and give them the structure, but I'm not necessarily always the person to carry it out with them, because I'm not reliable enough. Sometimes it takes me a couple of weeks to get back to an email with someone. That's not a way to run a business. So I often have to then go, this is the way to do your social media, but what I'm going to do is hand you over to X over here, who is far better at carrying out these day-to-day tasks for you. And they're going to do a much better job of it than what I could do. You've collected your paycheck from the consultation, and then you're referring it on to someone who's very good in their consultation role at doing what it is that they do. Reports, and making sure you wrap up a job at the end with the right kind of reports and the kind of structure at the end, is showing a client that you delivered, and it shows that you're walking away with the potential of a great reference and a great reputation as well. Making sure you can tell people that you are delivering the goods and showing them in a report how you did it. It's going to make them feel so much better having dealt with you, even if they might have had a rough experience at some point of the process. Wrapping it up well is all about finishing well. We're very good at starting things, we consultants. We're not always very good at wrapping them up. If you can get that process right, where you don't just start up well, you also deliver the process really nicely, and you wrap it up with a nice tidy report that says, you were this, now you're this. We went from here and now we're here. We got this growth up to here. That lets someone know that they can be confident in the money they've just spent on you, and then confident in the process they've just gone through. Look at what you can offload as well, because you need to continuously improve and eventually scale up your system, because you can consult all you want, but eventually you're going to run out of hours in the week. And we don't all want to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's a ridiculous amount of time. And even though I have lately been doing that again, it's because I took on a little bit more than I can chew. I have to learn to outsource some things. There's things I need to offload, including my customer contact needs to be offloaded to someone who can do better at that than me. So I need to outsource the things that take way too much time for me, so I can spend time doing the stuff that makes the money, which is bringing people into my sales funnel and showing them how to do things so they can do them largely themselves. So what that might be for you is outsourcing answering the phone. I'm terrible at that. In fact, I'm actually going to get a virtual assistant very shortly to do that again, because I just cannot handle the volume of calls and emails that come into me. I need to get someone to do that and prioritize it all for me, to give me my sets each day of the things I need to do, because managing my email is taking too long. Managing my appointments and rescheduling them all also takes me too long. I need someone to do that for me. So in that sense, I need to do these things as a consultant as well, because my consultancy side of my business has ramped up in 2021, unexpectedly, actually. You can automate some parts of your sales. So remember when we looked at that process, that sales process that started off with Facebook ads and ended with you making a confirmation call. You can automate some of those parts of it. You can automate a Facebook ads campaign to deliver leads through to a landing page, which automatically has a video that plays, that automatically has an appointment widget in it that makes people actually book a time with you. You can automate all that front end of it without you having to sit there in front of people or sit in the shopping center with a clipboard trying to sell your wares to someone. So automating as much as you possibly can without coming across as unfeeling and unkind. And then at the point where you actually have to close the deal and have some sort of time with a customer to explain what it is your process is and how you help, makes a big difference if you can do it. That person may be out of town, might not be in your town. If the contract's big enough, I can fly to them. Within Australia at the moment, when we were flying overseas, it's going to be a bit of a problem. Or you can just do a Zoom call or a Teams call to them to have that more personal connection to it. Just doing everything through automated videos is going to have a problem when you come up against people who just don't want to deal with a robot. They want to deal with a person, and knowing that person cares about their business to the same degree that they do. And also another way of doing this and scaling up is that you can, instead of doing all the work for them, you have a business structure that allows you to, here's what you do, let me show you how, now go and do it yourself. If you consult to do all the work for them, that's going to run you out of time really quickly. Now, it doesn't seem like a problem you have at the very beginning of your journey, but it will be a problem that does come up rather quickly as things start to scale up that little bit more and that little bit more. You couldn't have told me at the beginning of my journey that I would need to be doing all of these things. I thought, no, I can't even imagine a world where I'd need to actually hire someone to manage my email and my phone calls. Yet here I am for the third time in 5 years, where I've now have to get back to outsourcing all this stuff for someone else to do. Building a personal brand is a bit fun. This is the stuff that we often get very, very stuck on when we're trying to become consultants. We get stuck on how people see us and what we should be putting out there about ourselves, and following the Gary Vaynerchuk model of being on everything all the time, which works great for him when he's got a marketing promotions team of 60 bloody people. But he is a billionaire, so I'm not going to say that's a problem. He's made billions of dollars. First of all, you're going to develop a brand, but you don't have to start with one. You do not need a personal brand to start consulting. You can develop a personal brand as you're going. If you're starting small, if you're doing this as a side to your regular business, doing this as a side to a full-time job even, you can work on your personal brand and develop it over a period of time. You don't need to have the perfect brand before you step out there. Now, some of the big hair, big teeth mob, and they're the kind of people who tend to have American accents and want to be everything to be awesome, and they're very excited to be on a webinar. They will tell you that you need to have your brand, you need to have your look, you need to have the hair, you need to have the suits, you need to have the look that's going to go with what your consultation is. I say phooey to that. I say get started first, then work out what your brand is. Because if you try to overlay, here's the brand I want to be, it may not appeal to people. But if you start the work and you start doing it and people like you, your brand is becoming whatever it is that they encountered with you. And you may find that that's something that's just you. That's just like, I'm casual me. I wear polo shirts, not collared shirts. I tend to speak a bit like an educated bogan sometimes, rather than be very, very, very prim and proper and very, very professionally appropriate in media. I do it inside a spare room in my house rather than in an expensive studio, because that's what suits me. That's the way that people seem to relate really well to me. So you'll find your way as well. You'll find your personal brand isn't something that you want to set out with to start with and say, this is my brand, deal with me as I come. You want to go, your brand is what essentially people are already thinking and feeling about you when they're introduced to you and they've heard about you before. They will tell you what your brand is. You don't tell them what your brand is. So make money first, then develop the brand. It's the way that you move forward. Now, brand is what has helped me to go from, subsiding on $30 an hour consultation gigs to now commanding much, much more out of my time. I couldn't do that until I got a reputation and a track record that we talked about before to be able to charge a higher rate. You will essentially, I know, again, a lot of experts will tell you, go in with the top rate and make people pay your top rate. The problem is if they don't know who you are, you have no reputation, no one's going to pay that rate for you because you're an unknown quantity. The one person who comes through, they will always feel like you're charging a lot for an unknown person. Get known first, then you can start to charge those higher rates, and it will happen. Your old clients may not have to come along on that journey, but your new clients, they're paying the next deal. They're paying the big money for you. Use your social media to build your audience and to build a recognition of what your expertise is. LinkedIn is a great place to start. If you can get on there and start, talking about the things that you're passionate about, talking about the things that you're very much an expert at, people are going to notice you. I just this morning got an email in my, in-mail through my LinkedIn of a guy who said, I've been watching all your webinars I've been posting on here, and I'd like to be able to get some help with, how I should do my business's social media. Can I employ you? And that's exactly what I'm using that for. So I go in and say, well, yeah, you know what, you can. I've got a model here that I've laid out of how you engage with me. And I've got several different layers and levels you can do that depend upon what your budget and what your commitment's going to be. You can also submit written pieces to publications, into blogs, into podcasts. Being a podcast guest is actually a really cool thing these days. Being invited to be a guest on a podcast, I've had about 5 that I've been on so far. I don't really focus too much on doing that because my audience probably doesn't even know what a podcast is. So it's not really a massive thing for me, but they do tend to come across a lot on LinkedIn and on Facebook. So that's where I'll do a lot of my work. And then once you get to a point where you've got your systems and your processes, your niche, you've got it, you know what you're doing, you know who you are, you know what your plan is to get that rate going up a little bit. Now you're going to grow out your offering or even change it a bit. This is when you might pivot a little bit to do something that's a little bit different in your particular consultancy. And there are a number of business models that you can pivot towards or away from. There's the done for you model, which could be, for instance, Dom was saying before that he has an idea to consult with small bar owners to help them get their liquor licenses. Great. So that could be a done for you service or a dom for you service. Hey, see what I did there? That's brand. So you could be the done for you service, which is I will do all the work for you. I will do the calls. I will do the submissions. I will do the inspections with the people who are coming in. I will do all these bits for you. That model is great as long as you don't have to have a lot of clients and you're charging quite a lot for that particular service because they're buying your time. That's a time for money exchange. It's a per hour rate. Done with you is a little bit less pressure because what it is that you have a system, you have a particular routine you go through to deliver that service, and you go, I'm going to sit with you, show you how to do this, and then you're going to do it all of it yourself. That way is to go, let me sit down with you, let me show you the way to do it. Now, show me how you do it. Great, that's how it works. Great, now do it. So that's very much almost like the one-to-one consultation model, except that the done with you doesn't have to necessarily be one-to-one. That can be in a group or in a workshop. What I'm doing today is essentially the done with you. I'm sitting down showing you how to do consultancy based upon my expertise as becoming a consultant a number of times in my life and helping other people become consultants. So that is me sitting with you, showing you, here's the steps to go through. Here's the things to consider. Now go off and become consultants. I'm doing it with you. One-to-one consultation is that you get to the end of this and you say, hey, Dante, can I book a time with you to sit down and go through how I can go to becoming a consultant on my own? That's me sitting down in a one-to-one consultation model, which I can sell a particular hourly rate to you to say, let's do that over 3 sessions. So you get you in the position where you're ready to go out there and be a consultant. Then another one is group delivery, where you're delivering a lesson or a class to a group, kind of like what I'm doing here today. But I'm talking about more so you're going into a business where you're training a bunch of people how to do something all at once, as opposed to going into an open workshop like this, where anyone can register and take part of it. It's a very different kind of model that involves you getting your message across to a lot more people at once. It's more efficient than a one-to-one. But again, it's not necessarily, you're not going to charge the same amount for time because not everyone's getting the dedicated time and attention that they would do if there was a one-to-one. The difference in here will be that you would then maybe use this as part of a multi-offer, a hybrid, which could be that you have people coming in to a class, and then one of them says, I want to engage you one-to-one. Another one says, I want to do a done with you setup where you show me how to do it and then I do it myself. Or they'll engage you from the group delivery to become a done for you. So you do all the work for them. And then there's the online class model, which is very popular with a lot of coaches these days who want to show you the Facebook ad secrets and the LinkedIn marketing secrets and the tips and the tricks. They'll sell you a course because that's a lot more efficient for their time and they can make money in their sleep. It's that passive income model that we all really want to get. We all dream about getting, but not many people seem to actually ever achieve it. It's where you say, yeah, you can get on this webinar, which I've automated, which tells you all about this amazing course. You just have to pay $495 for today. Today only $250 because, you know, I'm being very friendly and, you know, it's getting close to Christmas and any reason you can have on there to say to people why they're getting such a great deal. That's a whole different model. If you're basing the whole thing on online courses, it better be a bloody good course with a bloody good outcome. Otherwise, people are not going to call you back to become an expert. They're going to say you're a rip-off artist. I sat with a guy yesterday in a cafe who literally cried to me because he's done so many of these online courses and nothing has changed in his life from them. He was just so saddened that he spent so much money on online courses and they all say the same thing and they got him absolutely nowhere with his business. Your business will probably be a hybrid of 2 or more of these things. So you may be starting off with the group delivery, then doing one-to-ones. That will probably be likely of what you'll do. So as we wrap up, the key takeaways are that you can start without a degree or any startup capital when you're starting a consultation business. You can choose a niche that you're either an expert in that also has some kind of growth potential, that you can grow that niche out to become more than just the 3 people in Australia who need you. You can get bigger. You can build an online presence with a repeatable sales pipeline that allows you to process leads as they're coming in and get them to book time with you to then do that discovery call or something like that, or you know, an informal chat over coffee, if you want to call it that. And you need to be able to deliver the goods and then improve your service model over time. And then even adjust that model just to keep yourself growing, to make sure you don't get too stuck in one particular spot. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope you've actually got something out of that and you're ready to go out and become a consultant yourself, or at least to start the process of thinking in terms of that. It's a scary thing to do when you do it all in once, but I'd say do it as a side gig. Start off working in the business you've got and then consider doing a little bit of consultancy on the side. Or if you're working a full-time job, this is another opportunity for you to do some consultancy on the side. Sell your Saturday mornings to someone who needs help from you. And you'll find you'll have that little bit of extra income, that little bit of extra confidence, and you'll be able to grow it to be a business that goes beyond just what you do on your own. Thank you again. And if you have missed anything, I'll pop this on YouTube in the next 2 to 3 hours and you'll be able to view it then. Thank you and have a great week.